Welcome all to the presentation. My topic is industrial IoT data processing. Just a second. And failure prediction using machine learning algorithms on edge device. So about the introduction, as we know that world is entering into the hyperconnectivity where more and more devices are connected together thanks to the rapid growth of IoT. And these connected devices are constantly sharing data among the numerous applications. Due to the connected devices, more and more data is creation is happening at the every end of the network. There are various applications of the IoT, as we all know that there are various applications of IoT, and industrial IoT is an extension of IoT in an industrial sector, that is IIoT, and it is used in many sectors and industries such as robotics, manufacturing, smart cities, and many more. According to IDC's Global Data Spread Forecast, the global data creation and replication will grow to 181 zettabyte in 2025, and about 75% of the enterprise-generated data will be created and processed at the edge of the network, according to the Gartner's report. Now, what is the edge? I'm talking about the edge. So what is the edge? Edge is nothing but a distributed computing. It is a part of a distributed topology in which information processing is located close to the edge. Edge computing brings the computation and data storage closer to the devices where the data is generated. In the context of IoT, the sources of the data are usually things with the sensors and embedded devices. Edge computing does not rely on the cloud computing, and thus it pushes the intelligence to the edge of the network. It does not rely on the central cloud or data center that can be thousands of miles away, and it pushes the intelligence to the edge of the network. There are various advantages of using edge computing, which are speed and reduced latency, improved security and privacy protections, reduces operational cost and scalability. There are various use cases of the edge computing, such as autonomous vehicles, predictive maintenance, remote monitoring of assets in oil and gas industries, smart cities, in-hospital patient monitoring, and so on. The predictive maintenance is another use case of the edge computing. It is a process which enabled by predictive analytics, which reduces downtime of industrial machines. The primary objective of the predictive analysis is to assess what will happen in the future based on the previous or the current data. Predictive maintenance activity is done through the data analytics and modeling techniques of machine learning. It utilizes the data from the various sources to detect abnormalities in the equipment behavior and predict failure before time and make decisions ahead of a time. Thus, it is becoming a popular for cost reduction and improved business performance. The methodology has been the methodology that collected the data from the UCI machine learning repository. Then the data needs to be processed. For data processing, I've gone through the extensive data analysis, and based on the data analysis, I've fed that data to my model selection. As this is a failure prediction, the problem statement is under the classification type. So I've selected supervised machine learning algorithms. I've trained the model based on the data. I've divided my data into 80% training set and 20% test set. The models are evaluated based on accuracy and runtime. And finally, the failure prediction model is created based on the algorithm that exhibits the best accuracy. As I said, the data collection was done from the UCI repository. In the collected data, we need to process the collected data. So the exploration of the data starts by checking each entry is unique, and there are no duplicates in our data. And we need to, as I continue with the exploratory data analysis, we found that there are no missing data and no duplicates values. Then we need to remove the outliers. So our data has a unique ID. My data contained unique ID and a product ID, which does not contain any useful information. So we dropped it. We look for the abnormalities or the confusing data. So we remove the confused, ambiguous data from the data set. And in the next step, we encoded the label. So the we encoded the data so that the labels can be converted into numbers, so that can be fed, the data can be fed to the machine learning models, so that the model can understand the data. Then we applied the feature scaling, and in the feature scaling, we converted the whole data set into a certain specific range, and the data, sorry, was we then split the data into train and test set, and the data is fed to the machine learning models. As I said, it was the failure prediction was a problem of a classification, so I selected supervised learning models. The models are support vector machine, logistic regression, then there was a random forest and the XGBoost. Now SVM, it is a supervised machine learning algorithm. It is used for classification as well as a regression problem. It is effective for both structured and unstructured data. To classify the data points, it creates a hyperplane or boundary between two different classes of a data points. About the logistic regression, it is also used to solve the classification problem. It is a probability-based algorithm, and it estimates probability of an event occurring, such as yes or no, true or false, based on the prior observation of the data. Then another algorithm used were a random forest and XGBoost. They both work well with the imbalanced data, and both are ensemble learning algorithms. Random forest constructs a multitude of decision trees in parallel with all with the same importance, and output is the class selected by the most trees. About the XGBoost is nothing but extreme gradient boosting. It is also it is similar to the random forest, but it similar to the random forest, and it is a decision tree ensemble learning algorithm. It differs from random forest because it uses the boosting techniques. So the algorithms, these are the results for my project. Algorithms used for prediction purpose are evaluated based on accuracy and training runtime. It can be seen from the table that the random forest exhibits the highest accuracy of about 98.65%. In the conclusion, I would like to state that our random forest is better than other supervised learning algorithms used for predictions. And in terms of runtime, XGBoost takes the less time to train the model, that is around 0.03 seconds. And about the future scope, I would like to tell that the real data set can be used for prediction, and as the real data can be used, so the model's accuracy can be improved by using the hyperparameter tuning. These are the references. Thank you.
Thank you, Mansi, for your wonderful presentation.
Good afternoon, all. Topic of my research is total factor productivity growth in India. First thing is, what is actually total factor productivity? We have whenever we go for a production function, there are factors of production. Like in simple case, we have capital and labor. Then there is something which can't be explained by elasticities of these two inputs. So whatever left is called total factor productivity. There are diverse views about total factor productivity, what actually total factor productivity measures. Then these diverse views can be divided into three parts. The first group actually say that total factor productivity is rate of technical change. They are saying like whatever technical change is there in economy is measured by total factor productivity. The second group is saying like it is spillovers, like spillovers of change in technology, change in this scale of return, or due to some externalities, whatever. Then there is another group which are saying like total factor productivity as a concept doesn't exist and it measures nothing. my basic idea is I am going with first thing, like what is this technical knowledge. So what is technical knowledge? First thing is technical knowledge. When we are saying technical knowledge is a set of ideas about creating economic values out of resources available in the economy. Second is what type of knowledge we are talking about here. It can be related to one or more processes, or it can be related to production of technologies, and or there may be organizational structure. This means also increase productivity, so it can be that too. Then there is embodied knowledge. What we are talking about, knowledge can be embodied in physical capital, human capital, or organizational structure. What we are taking in our study is COPE develops production function, which is basically simple production function where we have YIT is output, AIT is total factor productivity or technical change, K is our capital, L is our labor, and M is another inputs. We take log form here. We are taking beta naught is mean efficiency of firms, and this epsilon is deviation from mean efficiency of firms. First thing is what is problems associated with OLS estimation of total factor productivity. There can be problem of selection bias. Like in case of what if we are taking data for 15 years, there may be some firms which are exiting in between, or some firms which are entering in the system in between. So we have to remove these firms to calculate total factor productivity. So this will lead to problem of selection bias. Then there is a problem of simultaneity bias. Simultaneity bias is basically like these labor and capital both may be interrelated when we are choosing quantity of them. So there may be problem of endogeneity in between them. So this will be called simultaneity bias. Then we have input price or output price bias. Like these prices are available at industry level, not at firm level. So this will lead to problem of deflation deflators, and this will be called a bias in both input or output, whichever prices we are taking over. Then again, for example, last is multi-product firms. In case of multi-product firms, the production function can't be same across the industry. In multi-product firms, there may be possibility like some products which they are using for another function. So there will be problem of multi-product firms. So what are the latest methods available for total factor productivity measurement? First thing is OLE and PEX methods. What they are doing, like they to cover these problems, they are using investment as a proxy for measuring total factor productivity. Then again, next thing is Levinson pattern. They are using proxy inputs as a proxy for measuring total factor productivity. Then Woodridge and ARSSS methods, these are again developed on the basis of these two methods. Let's discuss one by one. First thing is OLE and PEX methods. OLE and PEX method, they have given a semi-parametric estimator. They are solving this simultaneity problem using firms investment decision to proxy for unobserved productivity shocks. Then there are selection issues, of course, still they are there. They are taking exit rule into model. This is a two-step process, and they are taking only firms where this investment is positive. They are removing wherever there is zero level of investment or there is no exit of firms. Then Levinson pattern again developed above these OLE and PEX methods. Again, it is a semi-parametric estimator. They are using intermediate inputs as a proxy. For example, electricity, fuel, or material are rarely zero because every firm, if it is running, there is some inputs. It is again two-step process. Then Woodridge adds the problem of two-step estimation to one step using generalized method of moments. It is one step and robust errors, and it can be easily obtained, and accounting for these accounts for both serial correlation and heteroscedasticity. They are using lag values. Then we have ARSSS methods. This is again developed on Woodridge framework, and they have introduced another stata module called ProDest. Using ProDest, we can apply, calculate, estimate all these methods. So it will be good for comparison if we are calculating from single command. So these are the variables I am using for calculating total factor productivity. As state level, I have used gross capital, gross fixed capital formation for capital, then gross value added as inputs, then inputs and invested capital, and also I am using for another extra variable I am using power as input. So these are my comparative results. Comparative results. Here we have an important conclusion, like in every method, the labor is a highly significant variable, and it's a clear sign that our economy is more of labor oriented. Like we are still not capital abundance country. So even last 3-4 since 2015-16, our economic surveys are also focusing on like we should invest in more in labor intensive industries. So this is and again I have calculated, these are my calculations. Actually it's a little bit cumbersome table, but I am getting a similar sequence in all the 4 methods. And next is like when it comes to capital, it is significant in 2 methods only. Again we are saying like we are still capital scarce country, we are importing technology from outside countries. This is also one of the conclusion. To conclude my part, I have estimated total factor productivity for Indian state level, and I have used 4 advanced method to do that. These are my references. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you for your presentation, sir. A great presentation. Please share your email address and your topic and your affiliation out there in the chat box. We can get in touch with you at last. We can have a conversation at last. Thank you.
Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Bushra Farash. I am from College of Engineering, Pune. The title of my article is Serializing the Textual Configuration Data Using Protocol Buffer for Improving Car Configuration Process. I shall be covering the contents in this flow. So let's start with the introduction of first term, which is electronic control unit. It is like an embedded computer in vehicles which controls other electronics or mechanical system or subsystems. So ECU takes inputs from the sensors and uses actuators to control output of the vehicle. The core of an electronic control unit is an automotive microcontroller, and it has its own memories, and there are communication links like controller area network and local interconnect network to communicate with other ECUs. So some examples of ECU include anti-lock brake system, airbag module, power control module, engine control module, etc. The next term is car configuration file. So this file contains code for configuring the vehicle according to the user inputs. So the file contains number of scenarios. For example, if you consider a scenario named welcome driver door, this scenario will have all the codes for welcoming a driver inside the vehicle. It will check whether the seat belt is buckled up or not. It will set the steering wheel height or the seat height according to user inputs, etc. So this configuration data is currently in the form of an XML file. XML file is eXtensible Markup Language, which we will see next. The third term is data serialization. Serialization is the process of converting data objects from complex data structures to stream of bytes. So this process is used for easily storing and transmitting the data. And some of the famous serialization formats include XML, JavaScript object notation, protocol buffer, and comma separated values, etc. So we have focused on XML and protocol buffer in this article. So let me start with XML. XML is extensible markup language. It is software and hardware independent tool for describing text in digital files. So different organizations use XML to interchange information over the internet. So in XML, the data is represented in the form of a tree structure. It has parent node. In the example shown here, car available is the parent node, and multiple child nodes like car, model name, color, price, etc. But the structure of this XML is quite bulky, and as we know how time critical the car applications are, so XML is not a suitable choice for data configuration. So we have studied another serialization format, which is protocol buffer. Protocol buffer is developed by Google, and it is a binary serialization format. Binary serialization formats are considered to be more compact, and Google claims that it is 3 to 20 times smaller and 20 to 100 times faster than XML. So we have choose protocol buffer to configure the vehicle. Now, if we consider the problem under study, the car configuration files are currently in the form of XML files. These files are given to the mentioned ECU, where they store relevant information and act further according to the inputs. Now, if we decode these XML files at ECU side, it is a resource intensive process. It takes lots of time, it consumes more amount of memory, and there is a power wastage. So what can we do to make this configuration process effective? So the proposed solution to it is replacing this XML structure with the protocol buffer structure, and using this protocol buffer structure to serialize the configuration data. Now, instead of decoding the whole textual file, ECU can easily decode the bytecode, and this will speed up the configuration process. Now, if we see the objectives for the study, the first objective is to reduce the time required for data configuration. This we are achieving by replacing the textual data transmission with bytecode. The second objective is shrinking the configuration data size with the help of a binary serialization format, which is protocol buffer in our case, and then preventing power wastage in ECUs by avoiding this textual data decoding and switching to a faster serialization format. If we compare the two serialization formats, the XML and protocol buffer, the same amount of information is represented in this manner. XML uses a hierarchical structure, whereas protocol buffer uses a message structure. To compare the speed of serialization and deserialization in XML and protocol buffer, it is clearly visible that protocol buffer takes very less time as compared to XML for serialization as well as deserialization. And if we compare the space requirement for XML and protocol buffer, XML takes lots of space to store the same amount of information as compared to protocol buffer. So protocol buffer is a very suitable choice for our vehicle applications. Now, with the help of block diagram, if we see how the proposed solution make changes to the current mechanism of car configuration. So currently there is a EMF model, which is Eclipse Modeling Framework model, where the data is modeled in the form of a UML diagram, from where we are generating these XML files for configuration. The mentioned scenario files are generated from this EMF model. Now these were used to directly send to ECUs in textual form. Now, if we replace this EMF model with a serializer at the server side, which will, with the help of protocol buffer, serialize the configuration data, convert it into bytecode, and then send to ECU. Instead of receiving text, ECU is now receiving bytecode. So decoding bytecode, or a stream of byte, in simpler words, is easier for ECU than the text. This will speed up the configuration process and take very less amount of space in ECU software. So to achieve this, the main goal is to convert the XML structure to protocol buffer structure. And to achieve this, some points are considered. The first one is inheritance. As we have seen, XML supports inheritance in the form of parent-child node. To achieve this in protocol buffer, messages are nested using the nesting concept. Sub-message is made a part of main message. Then the attributes of the scenarios, like the scenario priority, scenario name, scenario ID, the variables, the states, all are defined as message field in attribute in the scenario message. Then the third one is data types. Protocol buffer supports different data types like integer, float, string, or Boolean. So the type of data is maintained. Field rule determines whether a field is singular or an array of elements using the keyword repeated. Then enum is a list of possible value a variable can have. Like for example, if we define a variable named command, and we have 4 values for it, like start, stop, initialize, reset. So the enum command can be set to either one of the 4 values. Moving towards the results of the study, the first result is the proto file, which we have created, which we have generated from the XML by replacing the XML to protocol buffer. This file, if we compile using a protoc compiler, will generate 2 more files. One is a header file, which contains all the necessary headers. And the second one is an implementation file, which can be used by the developer to write their own code. So using these 2 files, if we serialize the data, we will get a serialized data file in this fashion. So only the state of the objects are maintained in this file, and this file is this file takes very small space, and this file then can be transmitted to the ECUs, where ECU will decode and get the states of the object from the file. And if you observe the size of the data in the XML file and the serialized file, the difference is quite visible. The XML files were up to few KBs, like 7, 8, or up to 12 KBs, whereas the serialized data files are just 1 or 2 KB in size. So there is a drastic reduction in the size of the data. And these files contain the same data. So it is quite good. To conclude with, ECU resources are limited, and properly managing them is a major task for automotive industry. And if we use protocol buffer instead of XML for data configuration, then that will be a suitable choice, a good choice. And these are some resources which were of great help during my study. Thank you.
Thank you, Bushra, for your wonderful presentation.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I would like to firstly say thank you to the coordinator for the opportunity to present this afternoon. My name is Hasana Adira, and I am a student from Institut Teknologi Bandung, Indonesia. Today, I'll be presenting my study entitled Improving Halal Marketing Strategy in West Nusa Tenggara during the pandemic COVID-19. We will go through 4 parts, which are introduction, literature review, analysis, and conclusion. So the tourism sector is one of Indonesia's largest source of income. In 2019, a total of 16.11 million international tourists visited the country. And this is an increase of 1.88% from the previous year. And nextly, the term halal tourism has emerged as a new trend in the industry as the number of Muslim tourists rise steadily each year. So on to the problem, which is the pandemic COVID-19 that happened in the beginning of 2020. So as you may have already known, in the beginning of 2020, the COVID-19 outbreak happened and tourism sector took one of the biggest hits. In April 2020, the Tourism Communication Research Group of Indonesia revealed some facts on the impact of COVID on tourism, including a drop in hotel occupancy, closing of tourist spots and tourist village, employees were laid off, and retail sector, notably shopping centers, saw a drop in sales. Knowing so, the research objective of this study is first to discover the development of halal tourism in West Nusa Tenggara before the pandemic and how COVID-19 pandemic has affected it. And the next objective is to explore marketing strategy as an effort to restore the halal tourism sector in West Nusa Tenggara during the pandemic. Allow me to quickly address the limitation. This study started on January and ended on May 2022. It is a desk-based study, which means all data collected were secondary data or literature journals. Let's move on to the second part, the literature review. Due to the time constraint, I will skip through some slides and get to this slide. So halal tourism or Sharia tourism is defined as a product as tourism product and service which satisfies the demand of Muslim travelers, such as the existence of mosque or praying room and halal certified food. It fulfills the requirements that are in accordance with Islamic principle. Next, we will discuss the analysis. There are 3 points in this part in accordance to the 3 research objectives mentioned previously. So first, the first point is the halal tourism development in Nusa Tenggara before the pandemic. The person you see to your left is Tuan Guru Haji Muhammad Zainul Majdi, the governor of West Nusa Tenggara from 2008 to 2018. During his tenure, he realized the opportunity West Nusa Tenggara has in becoming Indonesia's halal tourism destination. And so he builds a Muslim traveler-oriented strategy with his team. And the strategy includes 2 focuses. First, they engage with stakeholders and the market. So he needed the support from local stakeholders, which were travel-related businesses and religious leaders. Furthermore, he needed a way to engage with the target market, which was the global Muslim tourists. And the second focus is to prepare West Nusa Tenggara's tourism attraction. There were lots of improvement in infrastructure and tourist attraction during his tenure. And the result of his program was amazing. West Nusa Tenggara won 8 awards in becoming one of the best tourism destination in Indonesia. West Nusa Tenggara managed to get 4 national and 4 international awards from the year 2009 to 2015. The next research objective is to see the impact of pandemic to West Nusa Tenggara's tourism. This table from the statistic of the Tourism Office of West Nusa Tenggara shows the number of tourists, both local and international, to West Nusa Tenggara during the year 2019 to 2021. The bold number here on the Q2 of 2020 indicates a significant drop during the pandemic when the government implemented community activity restriction. So we can conclude that the pandemic has a very negative impact to West Nusa Tenggara's tourism sector. The third objective is to explore a marketing strategy in hope of recovering halal tourism during the pandemic. The marketing strategy uses ISERD as guidelines, and ISERD is one of the marketing strategy for which stands for attention, interest, search, action, and share. The reason I use ISERD to generally divide the strategy into 5 parts, but also cover all marketing steps from before the interaction, during the interaction, to the after sales activities. In the attention stage, the goal is to introduce and expand the knowledge and awareness about halal tourism. In this stage, it is necessary to build a blog about halal business practices within the tourism industry, where people can also explore the meaning and find interest in halal tourism. The next step is interest. The goal is to gain the interest of global Muslim tourists. By using social media to promote West Nusa Tenggara's halal tourism, global Muslim tourists can see and navigate by themselves and hope to gain interest in visiting West Nusa Tenggara. The third stage is search. The goal is to ensure customers have access to reach out the relevant parties in the step where they have gained interest and wanted to find out more. Hence, all social media accounts should link back to the blog dedicated for halal tourism mentioned in the first stage. And within the same blog, we should provide information such as tourist spots, transport, food, health protocol, halal restaurants, facilities, and more. And the next stage is action. The goal is to ensure customer satisfaction and safety during their trip to West Nusa Tenggara. And in this stage, it is important to stick to the health protocol. The stage will be crucial because not only we have to interact with the customer, we have to interact with the local stakeholders as equally often. The local stakeholders should implement health protocol from the government, such as sanitizing and body temperature check. The last stage is share. The goal is to make customer return for another trip to West Nusa Tenggara and share their experience to others, whether through word of mouth or through social media. And the fourth is to encourage customer to post their experience, to share their experience on social media, and also give deals and discount for loyal customers or returning customers. So to conclude this presentation, we have 3 points. The first one is West Nusa Tenggara's halal tourism before the pandemic, and we find out that there were already programs in effort to develop West Nusa Tenggara's halal tourism industry. Second one is the impact of COVID-19. So the West Nusa Tenggara tourism has seen negative impact from the pandemic, and the international tourist, the number of international tourists arriving to West Nusa Tenggara decreased significantly. And the third point is the marketing strategy done online on online platform should focuses on the halal and health protocols. That is all for my presentation today. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Serialization, and today I'm going to present my research on the topic to evaluate the prevalence and screening of obesity among adolescents. So, a quick introduction. Overweight and obesity, which were once considered prevalent in high-income countries among adolescents, is now spreading at alarming rate in developing countries and causing various non-communicable diseases among the low-income countries such as ours, India. Now, as per the WHO, the prevalence of obesity and overweight among children and adolescents up to the age of 5 to 19 years has shown to rise drastically from 4% in 1975 to about 18% in 2016. Now, this rise in obesity is equal in both girls and boys. In 2016, 18% of girls and 19% of boys were overweight, and which is linked to more deaths worldwide than underweight. Skipping a few slides. So, as we know, keeping the quote in mind, the prevention is better than cure. Obesity is more difficult to treat in adults than in children, and therefore it is an urgent need to evaluate the prevalence and screening for obesity among school children. In adolescence, there is a rapid growth rate which is variable among individuals due to its dependence on various factors like genetic, hormonal, and environmental factors. Therefore, also in developing countries, the health is always neglected due to one or other reasons: lack of awareness, busy schedules of the parents for earning livelihood, and poor compliance on the part of children are the main factors for spreading this epidemic of obesity among our adolescents. Now, the poor dietary habits among children may prone these individuals to non-communicable diseases like diabetes. And also, we should keep in mind that India is already called the diabetes capital among the Asian countries. Prevalence of obesity should be dealt strictly with to inculcate the healthy dietary practices, and school authorities should also step forward to intervene to monitor the students' health. And the last type of BMI, which is a simple index of height and weight, can be commonly used to classify obese and overweight, and it can be measured with the formula the weight of the child divided by his or her height in meters square. and moving forward. One second. So, okay. The aim of our study was to evaluate the prevalence of obesity and searching for an appropriate and acceptable tool for assessing the obesity and overweight in adolescents at school level. The material and methods were used. We have conducted a cross-sectional study among adolescents of 5 affluent public schools having similar fee structure in Tenggara district, Punjab, India. Informed consents of parents and children were taken under privacy confidentiality of each participant was calculated, and these schools were selected on a random sampling technique, and these were located within 7 kilometers of the included study. A sample size of 2,875 was taken as 15% of correlated error for qualitative data and prevalence of 6% in affluent society adolescents. And all the students from class 5 to 11 having the age of 10 to 16 years were included. Inclusion criteria. On the day of data collection of study sections, participants who were willing to participate in the study and consented for the same were included. Exclusion criteria included participants who were not willing to participate in the study and develop a tool screening were excluded from the study. Description of the tool. It had 2 sections. Section A includes the social demographic characteristics like age and gender of adolescents, and section B included a questionnaire regarding the prevalence and screening of obesity like the dietary intake and personal habits. The validity of the tool. By the experts in this field, the data was analyzed using the Microsoft Excel software with appropriate statistical tests in terms of frequencies and percentages. The type of our study was cross-sectional, which was conducted between July 2018 to August 2019, and the study was done using a random sampling technique. A detailed performer having the complete information about students' personal history, dietary habits, and dietary intake, etc. were given to each participant, and it was collected 3 days after, and then on the day of the performer collection, each participant was physically examined and parameters of height and weight were measured using the electronic brain scale and a height measuring stand. In our study, the dropout rate was 8% among adolescents. The results, as you can see, we used the 3 scales, that is Tenggara, NHANES, and EPHA. So, with the prevalence of obesity using all the 3 scales came out to be around 12%, whereas overweight girls came out to be 20%. Similarly, prevalence of obesity and overweight among girls was also calculated using the 3 scales, and it came around to be 46% and, in case of obesity, and around 21% in case of overweight in girls. Now this is using the EPHA girls, EPHA scale, and this scale you can see the nutritional status of the boys and girls, and this shows that around 11% girls were obese and around 8% adolescent boys were underweight. Similarly, 5.58% were obese and 6.76% were underweight. And also a quick overview of the results. And during our study, around 1,600 males and 1,000 females were studied, and the maximum males were in the age group of 12 years and girls in the age group of 11 years. And according to the BMI criteria, obesity prevalence was 9% in the 3 scales, whereas in case of boys, whereas in case of EPA, is also shown undernutrition in case of 6.7% in boys and girls and 8.73% in adolescent girls. All the results showing different parameters like normal, overweight, and obese were shown in the tables. All the 3 methods, that is Tenggara, NHANES, and EPHA, were compared by these adolescent boys and girls by ANOVA test, and they were not statistically significant as the p-value was more than 0.5. The adolescents of age group in 10 to 12 years were shown maximum obesity in this study, and the sociodemographically, the percentage of the urban and rural distribution is shown in the next figure. Okay, this is the figure which shows the sociodemographic distribution with the, in the urban and rural areas of the participants of our study. Now, a quick discussion. As we know, adolescent period is that transition period in a growing child, which produces puberty growth spurt. This phase of life shows more increase in adipose tissue with overall weight gain. The obesity prevalence in school adolescents in our study on the three scales used, that is Tenggara, MHMS, and EHAP methods were 9.6, 9.4, and 9.86 respectively, and these were findings were in concordance with the various studies, for example, Badwati and Patel. These findings suggest that the EPA was a simple and appropriate tool to address the nutritional status of adolescents, and it is easier to find undernutrition or nutrition using the EHPA method. But the results of the ANOVA test were not statistically significant. In our study, higher prevalence of obesity among males, adolescent and female, adolescent were in concordance with the study of the Patel et al. And Badwati et al. And obesity prevalence in 10 to 12 years in both the sexes in our study was similar to Patel et al. In literature, various studies have shown that 80% of underweight adolescents will become obese adults. Therefore, poor nutritional status of the affluent adolescent shown in our study is a matter of high concern. This transition phase of adolescence is much more worrisome for parents as well as children. Due to high growth spurt during the period, there is a marked variation of growth pattern in various parameters to assert the normal growth of adolescents, and it may be misleading to parents as well as children. There are different parameters for small children and adolescents. The small children parameters can be used to define assess standard weight and height of the adolescents, but the crude methods like triceps program fitness to assess obesity in adolescents has found to show variable results on sexual maturity. Among adolescents, during growth spurt, there is redistribution of fat according to onset of age, sex, and maturity. The various studies have shown that the WHO approved parameters of BMI to evaluate prevalence and screening of obesity among adolescents is, as in our study, the BMI was also used as a cutoff criteria to evaluate and screen adolescents for prevalence of obesity, which is comparable to the ANOVA test showing p-value of more than 0.5 for both the sexes. EHPA methods of assessing obesity among adolescents is comparable with other reference standards to the BMI cutoff. In conclusion, our study has concluded that there is a high prevalence of obesity among school adolescents, which is a paramount health issue. Preventive measures in terms of regular health checkups, motivation for BMI monitoring by students themselves, and general awareness about risk of obesity and associated non-communicable diseases should be done on a regular basis. School authorities should display various health guidance related charts in their library. I am now ending my presentation with various references used in our study. Thank you so much for your valuable time.
Thank you, Savi, for a wonderful presentation. Good research topic. Thank you. Well, please share your email address. We'll get in touch and collaborations and other things, and the people would like to.
My topic is on the need of palliative care. So, yeah, introductions. Human beings were not born to think individualistic, but to help each other. Two ways of thinking about humanity. There are individualistically and holistically. So, on life and death view regarding Hinduism, they say that the purpose of life is the four universal goal. So, life would be absurd if there is no purpose and meaning of life. Again, Buddhism also says that beliefs in afterlife and ultimate goal can be reached only through nirvana. Nirvana means realizing and accepting the four noble truths, that being awake to reality. In the same way, Jainism also said about the life and death. There is a concept of self-willed death to obtain freedom. Caring as virtue. Concept of caring is an important concept in ethics. Caring is understood as varsu. To act virtuously is to act in a way that is ethically admirable. So varsu is not like an emotion. Varsu is defined with caring as varsu should be analyzed as a reformer of the self towards the world. It is not only emotional, but it is orientation of the whole of our internal life. Palliative care. Palliative care is the positive perspective that improves the quality of life of patients. It is one of a type of holistic approach. Spirituality plays a vital role in leading people's illness and finding a new meaning of life. Spirituality can be expressed in beliefs, values, which is the highest power. So spiritual care is defined as assisting people to connect to their practices, ideas that are at the center of their being and gives them a meaning of life to the life-threatening patients. Viktor Frankl, he said that man is not destroyed by suffering, he is destroyed by suffering without meaning. Philosophical counseling. Philosophical counseling can help in relieving and controlling pain to the life-threatening patients. Firstly, it gives people with life-limiting illness a reason to hope and a feeling of greater self-confidence and dignity. Secondly, it is a holistic approach which respects the dignity and worth of each person. Thirdly, it tries to improve the distressing symptoms and enhance their quality of life. So, philosophical counseling is an approach for addressing the dilemmas, predicaments, and life issues of a person through self-examination. Socrates, a Greek philosopher, he said that we should examine life is a virtuous life and more fulfilling. So philosophy is in the background of everyone's belief as love and friendship are. It seeks to help with a process already taking place with us. So philosophical counseling as a spiritual care can help the patients to heal themselves even in the midst of dying. It is a spiritual care through philosophical counseling which plays a special role of trust, where the patient is facing respect and dignity with a healing cope with suffering. So philosophical counseling gives the patient an existential domain so that they can hope for the future and help to improve the quality of life. So in the conclusion, I can say that philosophical counseling is an application of ethics, critical thinking, and other philosophical resources in helping individuals cope with problems and pursue meaningful lives. It becomes more coherent by embracing an integrated moral therapeutic perspective centered on the themes of healthy morality, responsibility for health, and moral health. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for your presentation. Wonderful topic indeed.